Good morning, it's Ben here at Glide, just providing a 3 or so minute introduction to our new timesheet module. Why have we done a timesheet module? Simply because it was the #1 request from existing users of Glide. I guess having all this information about the jobs going through the practice, it seems very logical to record your timesheet information against that kind of jobs database. When we've built the system, what have been our kind of key objectives? First of all, we've tried to make it easy, when it comes to billing. I always found that, there's a lack of analysis available in timesheet packages, and you'd end up exporting WIP that have been allocated to a client and then spend forever saying, well, what's to do with this job? What's to do with that job? So we've taken a look at that scenario. Secondly, very much talking to our user base, we know the reality is that, about 80% of their fees are what you'd perhaps call fixed or largely fixed, and only the remaining 20% may be the kind of more traditional billed by the hour or some variation thereof. So we've tried to really make the system quick for people that are in that scenario. So you'll see that if you are raising a fixed fee, it's not going to take you very long at all to summarize the profitability of that fee. However, if you are kind of looking to, if you are conscious that your team are doing work that should be billed for over and above those fixed fees, it's going to become a very good mechanism to actually capture that time and ensure it is billed. Obviously, #1 objective of everyone we spoke to that said, look, you should do timesheets is to make it really easy to understand which of your clients are profitable and which ones actually need to be charged a bit more. So let's take a look. So this, you'll be familiar, no doubt, if you're an existing Glide user. Here's a dashboard. I'm going to just kind of find a job card first of all. We've got 3 ways to record time. So I'll go through each of those. The first one is on the job card. So perhaps you're in here, you're doing something, you're recording your stages, etc. All you do here is you either click log time or alternatively use the keyboard shortcut T shortcut. Sorry. This brings up, the dialog here to record times. Obviously, it's going to default to today. It's going to default to the appropriate rate. Just a word on rates. Obviously, the common scenario is every member of the team has a rate. You can have different rates either for particular workflow systems or for particular clients. So say if when doing VAT for a client X, you'd managed to agree a higher rate, you can deal with all that and it would default to it. Job stage, you can analyze time to the level of job stage. I'm not sure everyone will always do that, but I suppose if you've got a large set of accounts or something like that, you might do a budget on a stage by stage basis, so that's available. So quick description, what are we doing here? Set of accounts, so something like that. Put on our minutes, it obviously calculates how much it is. You don't need to have start and end time, they are optional. And we've logged time. Now the great thing about that is that because we're on the job card, without needing to really do anything else, it has automatically analyzed it, not just to the client camera cases, but also to this job, and as you saw, if you wish, to a particular stage. Whilst we're on this card, I'll just show you the kind of drill down to WIP here. So that's actually my second entry on this particular job. So we've got 2 timesheet entries there. Now, let's just then click on the client card, because this is the second place where you can record time. So again, you've got a log time button or you've got the T shortcut, and this, unsurprisingly, looks kind of identical. Now this, as it says down here, is going to record time to a client rather than a job. So if you want to record time to a job, it should be on the job card. On the client, you can either record just generic time, or you can actually set up, categories, things that, you don't have a job on Glide for them, but they are chargeable. So let's just say on here we had a kind of general meeting. So obviously this is going to be meeting with client. Oops. And it was a couple of hours. So that's our second way of logging time. Just before we move away from camera case, I'm just going to drill into the WIP again. And as you can see on the WIP reports, the level of analysis is there. So you can even kind of search this down, get a particular job there before you export it to Excel, etc. You can open these up to see the descriptions. So those are the first 2 ways, and the way we see it working is that during the day, already we know people have the Glide tab open, and you're going to record your time where you can as you're on the job cards and client cards. However, key thing I remember from being in practice is that, come the end of the day, you're probably not going to have got everything in, and what you really need then is an incredibly quick way to just record the rest of those entries. You really don't want to be wasting time here. So if you click on the user drop down and hit today's timesheet, the idea with the bulk entry screen is really to allow you to record the same level of detail. So we've got, first column is the context. So this is either a non-chargeable time category, which is really designed for those that either want to monitor the amount of time spent on these, or that require their team to account for each minute of the day. Or alternatively, it's the client. So very easy here just to kind of search for your client and tab on. The activity column, this is same level of detail as if you were recording on the kind of client card as we did a moment ago. So you've got those non-job chargeable categories again, and you've also got the jobs down here. So again, search functionality really is great. You can search, ACC for accounts. If you know your year end, you can pop that in. And really do recommend you get that level of detail there. Stage, as before, it's available. It depends if you want to be breaking down time, and I think with accounts, people perhaps will. So let's say this was at the review stage. You can just tab past the rate, because that's going to default to the appropriate rate. And we'll say, I can see I've already had quite a busy day here today, and especially after those last entries we did. But let's put another hour on. And we'll say here, review of accounts, and we'll move on. So you can see that once you get into the flow of this, the general idea is that you could add comfortably kind of 10 to 15 entries in really no more than a couple of minutes. So also obviously it summarizes all your other entries, so you can have a look and see what's happened during the day. You can delete entries. But a couple of advanced features on these screens for those that need it is that obviously we have got the number of minutes required, which is configurable based on the working day for each user, and the timesheets can be submitted and approved, and that can all be monitored. But it's like I say, though, those features really for those that need it, and they don't have to be used to get the most out of the system. This colouring here means it's been billed, which means you won't just be able to change it quite so easily, of course. So that is the third way to record time. What I'm going to do now is just show you a few of the screens that help you to then use that information. So the first one, I think, for us to take a look at is the WIP analysis. So here, kind of you'll recognize this. It's a list of all the WIP within the practice. We can fairly easily drill down, say on local butchers, and this is kind of as we saw in the client card there. So it's showing you your jobs, all of the entries on the jobs, and it's also showing you chargeable categories and what's happened there, and you can search and export, etc., etc. So this is the great thing about this visual is that obviously, if you're kind of billing at the end of each month, as perhaps people do, then if you start to see time moving into the 30 to 60 columns or later, you're very quickly going to be drilling into that. That's analyze that down to show you exactly what happened there, and you can kind of get that build and reduce the lockup in WIP. So that's the WIP screen. Let's now look at raising bills. So who's got a bit of time? I think local butchers. Let's click on their client card. Now, as principle as before, so raising bills has a button either on the client card or on the job card. And really that's going to come down to whether your process is to raise a bill for everything you do, or let's say if you just say to the client, right, this is £200 a month, and that includes everything, obviously you're going to raise the bill at the client level. And we do fully cater for that scenario. So let's just put an invoice number in there. And as you can see, choose items to bill includes the analysis by jobs here. So I could have raised a bill on each of these jobs separately, or if I'm doing one bill overall, I can do it via the client bill pop-up. So this is where we were really conscious when designing the system to appeal to both the traditional way of working, which is what I remember from practice, where you would look at kind of all of these lines and decide which ones to bill and write some off and reduce some minutes. So we have all of that functionality. So we can say, yeah, include that in my bill. It's going to start adding the bill up for you down here. You can say, right, actually it's only 25 minutes. The other 25 should be in WIP. Or you can say, actually, let's write this off. That was a waste of time. So you've got what you'd perhaps call your detailed approach, but also remember we are really trying to make the scenario easy, where you're raising this bill simply because you want to know how profitable this client is. You know all along that all of the compliance work on here, so perhaps not that incorporation, all of this compliance work is worth £500 a month. So two things you can do there. One, you've got a select all button. So that selects it all, puts in the bill total, but I'm just going to unselect that because actually, we've got the annual return, VAT return, and accounts that are included. So I've got a select all button just for those jobs. I'm going to leave the bit of ad hoc work I did there, and what that has done is it's brought up £372. Now, we've obviously been working efficiently because, as I mentioned a moment ago, this is £500 a month. Now, to save time here, rather than going in, you can, if you wish, go in and adjust the value of these lines one by one, and that would be recommended where you wanted the audit trail to quite specifically allocate the write-on or write-off to the member of staff that did the timesheet entry. However, what we anticipate is more often than not is that you'd simply want to go, okay, this is £500, so put in a fixed bill total, and it then allocates the extra, whatever that is, 128 quid across the timesheet entries in proportion with their value. So you're still getting a pretty good data set there, but crucially, this is taking literally a minute rather than 5 minutes. So it's really speeding up the billing process. In time, we also anticipate these fixed bills totals being held within the Glide system and kind of automatically prompting you here to say, look, this is your bill total. So let's hit generate bill, and yeah, we can see now that if I drill into the WIP, we're left with just the bit of time that I had, the annual return time there. I'd forgotten I did it, but obviously it's 50 minutes and I reduced it to 25, so we've got 25 left in WIP, and we've got the incorporation time there. So that's raising a bill. If we just look at that annual return card, actually, just to look at what I said a moment ago, whereby you have got a raise bill button here. And really, if you are happy to have your bills on your job card, this a bill per job is perhaps what I should say. This is where it really does get incredibly quick, because you're simply going to hit select all and go, yep, it's an annual return, £75, generate bill. So like I say, that really feels a lot quicker to me. Now, okay, doing nothing might be even quicker, just having your bills popping out from your account system. But obviously what you're building here is a very accurate record of profitability of all of these jobs and clients. And secondly, you're giving a mechanism whereby your users can record time for extra work that they have done, which is then on your WIP list, which reminds you to bill it. And should you wish, you can insist on a certain number of minutes being hit per day, which will then give even greater incentive to ensure that no extra work is missed. So it's all about finding those extra bits of time. Okay, another screen just to look at. I'm conscious of I know I've gone over my suggested time frame for this video, but let's just have a look at these final screens. So what have we got here? We've got the billing summary. Okay, so it's got all of our bills here, and we can kind of drill into, that was our big one we did a moment ago, so we can see recovery rate, etc., everything, every timesheet entry that was on it. So okay, so that's kind of, I think I am conscious that I've taken a bit longer than expected. So what we'll probably do is wrap this video up here. We've gone over recording time, raising a bill, and I think in a separate video we'll start to look at really you getting the benefit of all of this profitability data. So thank you very much. Cheers.